Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I am your host this morning. We're in our third hour of our show, and we have a special guest for you folks this morning. We're going to be joined by Ms. Marjory Wildcraft. Now, if you've had any experience with Marjory, you know that she is a expert gardener, kind of a cult figure, actually, in the self-reliance and self-sufficiency world. And she is a noted expert, has produced actually a couple of very interesting videos on how you can actually cut your own grocery bill by 50% and become self-sustaining for yourself and your family. She's been on literally hundreds and hundreds of television shows, radio programs. She's been in print. She's in magazines. And she has two great websites, and I'm going to give you those websites before we bring her on. One, you can go to her website where you can obtain her DVD series on how you can turn your own backyard into a sustainable grocery store. Basically, the website is growyourowngroceries.com. That's growyourowngroceries.com. And you can do two things there. One, you can buy her entire video series, but you can also get an ebook free that you can just sign up your first and last name and your email, and she promises she will not spam you, which we all hate. So you can go there and get her free book on how much land do you need to be food self-reliant, and she'll email you that ebook directly. And it is free. There's no charge at all. And I encourage you to participate in that. She offers a money-back guarantee on her program for her video series, which is teaches you everything that you need to know to turn your backyard into an organic, food-producing paradise. And that's no pun intended, no kidding, folks. You can learn on how you can turn your rainwater by harvesting that and reutilizing that. The gardening methods that she uses, and turn any soil into fertile black gold. Now, you know, we in Missouri grow rocks really well, or at least in southern Missouri. And Marjory will teach you how to actually turn your backyard into a food paradise. So, good morning, Marjory. How are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, Mike. I'm doing great.
Hey, thank you so much for joining with us. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure, really.
We have a very kind of independent-minded crew here, and so we really are very much into the self-reliance and self-sustainability and self-sufficiency movement. And as we all know, our food products are being polluted by agri-giants, and the pricing, of course, has gone higher, and it's going through the roof with inflation. So there's a lot of reasons why it makes good sense for you to become self-sustainable. So maybe you can give us a background on how you kind of got into this whole project and what your motivating factors were.
Well, the pivotal thing that happened to me is I'm pretty out there. You know, I'm involved in my community, and even though I was homeschooling, I was approached. There's a man who lives in my county, Steve Bridges, who was the president of the Texas Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association. And Steve had a vision and a dream that we'd have local organic food in the school system. And I said, Steve, let me help you get that going. We'll do it here in my community, and then we can duplicate it everywhere.
Sure.
We were so excited. I mean, this just makes so much sense. Everybody knows that when kids eat good food, their grades are better, their behavioral problems go away. They're just a lot better to be around. And the teachers wanted it, the school system wanted it. We were so excited. It wasn't until the third meeting that it all fell apart. And I'll never forget, we were in the community center, sitting on those ratting old folding chairs, you know,
yeah,
at the table, and with the chip surface, and we're so excited. And I can't honestly say I remember how it ended completely, because I went into shock somewhere in there when I realized we almost all of us knew everybody producing organically in Texas, and we started to say, okay, well, who's going to supply this food? And it dawned on us that not only was there not enough food in the entire county that was locally grown to provide vegetables for one small elementary school, but that we were going to have to look for a tri-county area to provide vegetables.
Wow.
For one small elementary
For one county.
School. For, you know, we didn't even have part of the vegetables.
Right.
And a couple months later, I mean, I was shaking. I was just, because it suddenly, most of us in the survival preparedness niche know there's only 4 days worth of food supply in your local grocery store.
Exactly. And maybe less in your home refrigerator.
Right. And then that food travels to you an average of 1,500 miles.
Sure.
When you put that together, what that means is there's no food growing out in the countryside. So, people who are thinking, well, if something happens, I'm going to head out and maybe steal a little bit from a farmer or something. Forget it. There ain't no farmer out there.
Right. And not to mention the fact that you may get some rock salt for your trouble.
Oh, you will definitely get shot out here. I'm sure in
out here too. This is the Ozarks, dear.
Yeah. And y'all may have a little bit more locally grown food there. I mean, there's the Ozarks are famous for self-reliance.
Sure. And that's a very strong mindset here, is everybody wants to be. And one of the things that we like to look at here is the idea of co-ops and that kind of thing, so that not only are you growing your own groceries, but then you have a means to be able to take the overage and provide it into the community where everybody else can participate and partake as well. And not everybody can grow everything, right? So you have an opportunity to do some barter or trade or buy or sell products that are also not covered in all kinds of pesticides and genetically modified and engineered and so forth and so on. So.
Absolutely. Community is the biggest factor
Sure.
in really being successful in this.
The truth is the self-sustainability movement and the self-reliance movement really are community organization at its heart, not like our president practiced it, but more like we all want to practice it, which is know who in your community is good at doing things, and then let's make sure that we're participating with those individuals and keeping our business and our money in our communities, right?
Very much so, and also contributing. And yes, and it
Sure.
really is. I mean, that's our insurance policies. That's our biodiversity. That it's all about community. It really is. In fact, actually, I'm coming up to Southern Missouri, and I really have loved
you
that.
You are?
area.
When are you coming up here?
I've got to. Well, we're going to the USA Prepares Expo that Vince Finelli has.
Oh yeah, sure. Out in Springfield.
Mike Slack canceled his Go Green Festival, or I was going to come then.
I know.
But I love that area, and I'm actually scouting out to set up a second research center somewhere.
Really? Oh, I want to talk to you about that offline.
Great.
I've got some places for you to talk with you about.
Great.
There is going to be another event that Mike Slack has set up for the 20th of April. I don't know what your schedule is like, and I'm sure you're a busy gal, but I can talk to you about that as well. But the Go Green Festival will occur later on in the summer, and but when you come up to the USA Prepares in Springfield, that's about 2 hours from where we are, and I will make sure that I make it my business to come out there and meet with you.
Great.
So you have really kind of broken open the door on the education concept here about how to take, folks that, for all intents and purposes, we have as a society lost our ability to, know what our grandparents knew, right? Which is how to be self-sustaining and how to, produce even a small family plot that will take care of yourself. And so your series that's out there, your video series, will actually kind of help educate people on what they need to grow, what they should be growing, how they can do it best, and how they can turn what would, in Missouri we have a phrase that we grow rocks out here, because this is some rocky soil here, and there's a lot of clay, and so we don't have really high grade soil. This is not like, that black dirt you can grow really good onions and stuff in. But one of the things that your video teaches is about how to turn soil into, fertile black gold. And boy, that's, if ever there was a place that's needed, it's here.
Yeah. Every area has its challenge.
Sure.
Every area does. Our ancestors knew the value of good soil, and you're right. That's what the DVD works to recapture, is that lost knowledge that our grandparents and our great grandparents. This was day to day. They knew it. They weren't talking about the weather as if it was some idle comment. That they lived by the weather, and they understood weather patterns, and they knew, oh my God, you got to cover tomatoes, and this is what you grow when, and this is how you butcher a cow, and this is what, and that's a lot of what the DVD series brings back to us that have, really haven't been in touch with that.
Sure. Well, this is the captured knowledge and wisdom of not only yourself, but also all the years of research that you've done. One of the other areas I think that's probably the most informative about it is you talk about some techniques that you can utilize that raise the efficiency level, which you can do on a small, personal gardening section that isn't really, that's not something that large commercial growers can't do just because of size and scale. And so that, to me, that really, changes the nature of what we're looking to do here. and it really improves the quality of what you can produce.
Small producers like you and me in our backyard, regularly produced 3 to 4 times what the commercial growers produce. And if you start getting good at it, you can produce 10 times the amount of calories and food and nutrition per area, and with much less water than the big commercial producers. It's just, and we have so many huge advantages because we're not using big machines and we're not using synthetic this and that and the other.
Right.
So there's just all kinds of creative stuff, and we definitely bring that in and show it, and it makes it a lot more fun.
Sure. You have a free ebook that people can get by going to growyourowngroceries.com and simply enter their first name and an email address, and you'll email them this How Much Land Do You Need to Be Food Self-Reliant ebook, which I think is a great opportunity for people to get introduced if they haven't already been. Or even if you're an experienced gardener, hey, you can always learn from somebody, right?
Absolutely.
And somebody else has always got a great idea that can really, and sometimes it's we take it and we expand on that. And then they can also purchase your Grow Your Own Groceries DVD series. I believe that. What's the cost of that?
It's $57.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 2 DVDs, and then there's a CD-ROM that's a bonus that has a whole library full of books and supporting documents.
Gotcha. And then that you've got a money-back guarantee on that. So if they get out there and apply your principles and it doesn't work, then they can call you up and complain.
That so rarely ever happens.
I'll wager you probably haven't had to give money back on more than 5 or 10 occasions, and I know you've probably sold literally thousands of these. So
true.
We're going to take a quick break. If you don't mind hanging on with us through this segment, I'd like to talk a little bit when we return about some of the impact that you've had across various media. You've been on literally hundreds and hundreds of radio and television shows. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that when we come back. And if you don't mind sticking with us through this segment.
Not at all. I'll be right back with you.
Great. Folks, we're talking this morning with Marjory Wildcraft. Her website is marjorywildcraft.com, and that's MARJORY. And you can also find her other website at growyourowngroceries.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we might take some phone calls. We'll be back in just a minute.
Out of 365 days a year, we celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and other important days. But there is one day you look forward to, your birthday. I wanna wish you a happy birthday. Ryan's Steakhouse of West Plains is proud to bring you the Birthday Club weekday mornings with Cooper & Company. Our daily winner receives one buffet and a drink to Ryan's. Just call your birthdays in weekday mornings with Cooper & Company at 255-0427. Brought to you by Ryan's and the Ozarks Best News Talk.
And happy birthday to you! Cha-cha-cha.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains has this breaking news announcement. If you've got a British car and it quits, if you've got a Japanese car and it quits, if you've got a German car and it quits, come into Napa Auto Parts in West Plains, right across from the Civic Center. They speak automobile fluently. Yes, they do. And may be able to help you find the right parts to bring your car new life. Call ahead to reserve parts, 256-0131, or stop by 311 St. Louis Street, across from the Civic Center.
Okay, we are on this morning with Marjory Wildcraft. She is the creator of a DVD series and an audio series, which you can find at her website. That is called growyourowngroceries.com. And you can also find another website that Marjory has at marjorywildcraft.com. Now, Marjory's, by the way, Marjory is spelled M-A-R-J-O-R-Y. And I know to clarify that because I have a mother-in-law named Marjorie, and it's spelled differently. So that's a common name, I guess, and we want to make sure we spell it right. You are really well known around the nation as a, you almost have kind of a cult following, I guess, in the self-reliance and sustainable living movement.
A little of it's kind of funny, yeah.
And right, you're kind of I guess that that's kind of intriguing. While at the same point in time, it comes with its own burdens, right? But you have been on literally hundreds and hundreds, I think 500 or 600 radio and podcast and print and television shows. and you have made a literal global impact on this entire movement. In fact, I think it's fair to say that people look towards you to be kind of the maven of this particular or concept of self-reliance and self-sustainability.
Well, when I first realized that we were definitely headed into collapse of some sort and type, I looked at all the skills that you need, and you do need a lot, and sometimes it's overwhelming. And to learn how to shoot a gun, you can actually learn that pretty quickly.
Right.
A couple of weeks at the the
Sure.
Army takes a soldier and turns him into a soldier in whatever boot camp.
6 or 8 weeks, sure.
Yeah. And medical skills, they're real important, and of course that's something that you learn over a lifetime, but you can get a lot of basic first aid, and there's a lot of people with medical skills. That's not as hard to come by. A lot of the skills, the one that is the hardest, it's the most difficult, and it's the most important because you want to do it at least 3 times a day, is grow food. Yeah.
Right. and of course, if you can't grow your own, if you're hungry, all the guns and all the medical training aren't going to help you.
Exactly.
if you're starving to death, right?
Exactly.
So,
and all the gold and silver you might have been stashing.
Sure.
And eventually your beans will run out. It's you've got to be able to self-sustain yourself. And when I started, I was I had in my previous professional career, I was an engineer. And then after that, I became a money manager. I was doing a lot of the corporate office, institutional type stuff, and every house plant I ever had died, or the only reason I had a lawn was because it was there before I moved in.
You sound like me.
Really. And I thought, and when I was at that meeting at the community center, and we realized there was no food in the countryside, and I was shaking. I was in shock, and I said, "Oh my God!" And I knew at that point my life was over. Whatever it was that I had been doing before, it was done. And that this is what I needed to focus on, because we need to have local food supplies, and the way you get farmers is you start with gardeners.
Sure.
And I said, God, everybody wants the calling from God, right? And I'm like, you really made a big mistake this time, because I know absolutely nothing about this, and I'm horrible at it when the times I have tried it, and but it turns out I think that actually is a good thing. The most common feedback I get from the video set, which is not exactly real pleasing to me, is they go, "We love that you showed your mistakes."
Gee, thanks, I think.
I know, thank you, I think, yeah. So, we had this garden, and we tried gardening in 4 different locations before we finally realized, oh my God, the garden, it's called a kitchen garden, it has to be right outside your kitchen door, as close as possible, because that's the one you're going to tend. If it's even 50 feet or 100 feet away, you're not going to go there.
Good point, right.
And so a lot of these really basic lessons that, of course, our grandparents did know. So, so I took on this thing of growing food, and it's a really hard one, and there's a lot of great people in the movement, but, not many people have taken on this particular topic.
You're the queen.
The queen, yes. Grow your own groceries, queen.
The queen bee.
Yeah, my mission and my motto has become, homegrown food on every table.
Sure.
It's so delicious to sit down in front of a plate of fresh greens and potatoes and meat that doesn't have any kind of strange hormones in it, and really have this beautiful food of what we eat at our dinner table every night. There are very, very few restaurants that have that kind of quality that you can buy.
Sure. Well, and on top of that, there's another aspect to this, which is just the idea that you've grown what's on your table. There's a certain level of pride, and I don't know that it's even a word pride. It's just the comfort of knowing that you can do it and that you're not reliant on someone else. There's that whole self confidence level that comes out of that.
Security.
And I guess that's the right word. I'm struggling to find the right word, which, I use plenty of them, but sometimes I struggle, and this is one of them. The issue of, this particular idea of being able to produce enough food and enough groceries to take care of your own family is really a level of security, I think, in a way that there's just no other way to produce it or provide it.
It is, and I'm outside of Austin, Texas. I'm still very much connected with the activist community there, and there's a lot of them. And Alex Jones is probably the loudest one, but under him is a whole pyramid of other people that are. And it really struck me as fascinating back after 2008 that the activist community suddenly said, "Hey," there was all of them suddenly starting to call me and go, "Hey, we don't think the system can be fixed, and we're going to start learning to grow our own food. Is, like, oh my God, that really put another nail of terror in my heart. Like, hey, you guys,
really,
if you guys who are on the front lines of knowing what's going on are starting to turn towards self-reliance. But I've done a lot since on Liberty shows, and for me, if you're going to complain about Monsanto, which you should, it's an evil company. The very simplest way to boycott Monsanto is to grow your own food.
Right, exactly. And then it's okay to continue the fight for those who aren't or unwilling or helpless or hapless or whatever, but at least knowing that you've taken control of your own destiny is a big step in the right direction. So I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
And I mentioned it earlier on in the discussion. We have terrible soil here.
Yes.
What would be can you give us a couple of quickie tips on what we can do to dramatically improve the quality of the soil that we have here?
Well, the first thing is to start creating compost piles. I mean, compost fixes everything. Rocky soil, clay soil, sandy soil. It's really all about and composting is something we need to be doing en masse all the time anyway.
Right.
But getting organic matter and composting it, and I'm guessing in your region, working on maybe some raised beds or just focusing on an area that you're going to develop that soil in and focus on having your garden plot. And composting. I mean, composting, it's really, nature does most of the work. You just put the ingredients together, mix them up, and make sure it's watered every now and then.
Right.
So those kitchen scraps and, whatever, the brush you're cutting, or when you're, people who mow do you have a lawn? Anybody mowing their lawn these days?
Yeah.
The lawn clippings, those old bales of hay, whatever you can find, the grinds from the coffee shop, just continually collecting that and composting it. And there's, in the bonus CD that comes with the DVD set, there's, I think, like 5 or 6 different composting methods that I have written up there.
Gotcha.
Different ways to go about it.
So you have some tips in there about what you should and what you should not be throwing into a compost pile.
That's true.
Yeah, because there are certain things you shouldn't be putting in there. Any kind of meat products or dairy products are like persona non grata in a compost pile, right?
Well, you can compost those things. It's just a different technique. Anything that's organic matter that was alive at one point in time, and even things that weren't, I guess. You can compost, and in fact, some big chicken processors that I know of, that's how they're handling all the entrails and things that they don't use, and they're doing it in just massive wood chip piles that they compost it. So you can compost anything. It's just a matter of technique.
Gotcha. So once you've got a compost pile, and of course, I think the problem with that for a lot of folks is that it takes a while to start one. If you don't already have one. One of the things that you can do with the existing soil that you've got while you're starting a compost pile, I mean, what are some steps that you could take today to build a raised bed and literally begin, growing this spring?
Well, the first thing is to find a spot that's going to have adequate sunlight. And that sounds so simple, but I can't tell you how many gardens I've started that, there's this big old shade tree right next to it.
Right. What was I thinking, right?
Yeah. Or, I have a garden now that's, at least 10 going on 11 years. And when it started, the trees were small, and now that garden is almost too shaded to use. So make sure you've got a good sunny place. And if you can possibly arrange it, not have a whole lot of wind loading on that site. So that's going to be the ideal. You want to find a good garden site. And the other, again, as we'd mentioned earlier, is try to have it as close as possible to wherever you are. We're lazy. We're humans. If you can do something and it only takes 3 steps, you're going to do that more than something that takes 10 steps.
Right.
So you want to get your area defined, and I would highly recommend starting small. Just start with one small bed. When I started out, I panicked. I freaked out. I said, we got to get this stuff going now, and we got to feed all of this.
Right, you're trying to grow a Walmart's worth of produce.
Exactly. Don't do that.
I got
and my
you.
husband also, his grandmother was one of those that could grow, she, by the time she was a mature adult, she could manage an acre garden, which is, that takes a lifetime.
That's a big garden, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But he said, oh, hon, you want to grow food? Well, Granny used to do this. And so, we had an acre, and we had an acre of weeds and frustration is what we had. Start small. So a 50-square-foot bed, maybe something that's 4 feet by 12.5 feet, or 100 at the most.
Gotcha.
But just a small bed. That way it's not going to take a lot of your time. The chances are it's going to be more successful. it's not, it's easier to do a small project than a big project. And having success and building from success is a lot easier than having a big failure and moving from a big failure.
Sure. We've got a quick break coming up. I'm going to ask you to stick with us. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. North Korea continues to issue threats against the South and the U.S. after a training mission by our forces, which we're getting more details on.
Fox News has learned that those B-2s that were sent to the Korean Peninsula were in fact the first B-2 fighters to ever be sent to the Korean Peninsula, and that they were not originally supposed to be part of the annual military exercise with South Korea, but Secretary Hagel made the decision in the wake of North Korean threats.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin.
Each B-2 dropped 4 inert 2,000-pound bombs off the coast of South Korea and returned home. The B-2 is capable of carrying 8 5,000-pound bombs.
And 2 fifth-grade boys in Washington state have been found competent to stand trial in juvenile court on a murder conspiracy charge. The prosecutor says they plan to kill a female classmate. Fox News, we report, you decide.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Wits End Classic Barbershop, who is the sponsor of our telephone lines this morning. They're located on the square in West Plains. It's Wits End Classic Barbershop. Thanks to our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. You can find them on the web at westplainspawn.com. They can be reached at 417-256-3000, and they're located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. 400 guns undercover. Pizza Hut, our friends down there on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have an outstanding lunch menu with salad, pizza, and pasta. Excellent opportunity for you to have a great lunch and eat well and something tasty. Our friends over at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com. Telephone 417-257-7799. Our friends over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance can be found on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. My friend Brian there can be reached at 870-492-4030. They're located a half mile east of Walmart at 3225 Route 62, Mountain Home. My friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She's right off the square in West Plains at 2 Evans Arcade, and you can reach her at 255-2253. And my friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction. If you're considering doing remodeling, custom or new construction, or anything like commercial, give Bill a call and have him bid on your project at 293-0116.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, your Class 3 dealer for automatic weapons and suppressors, including Gemtech and Huntertown, with a great selection of holsters, slings, magazines, and gun storage options. West Plains Pawn and Jewelry will also do special orders. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
News Talk 107.1 The Point weather sponsorships are available for your business marketing plans. Contact Cody or Josh at 255-2548 for more information.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, we have a very good chance of showers and thunderstorms mainly after 8 o'clock. Patchy fog before 10. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies with a high near 57 degrees. I'm Dawn James. And for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call ahead 255-2253. Be sure to like and follow Chantilly's Artisan Bakery on Facebook.
All right, folks, we are returning, and again with us this morning is Ms. Marjory Wildcraft. She is the creator and the purveyor of GrowYourOwnGroceries.com. That is a website where you can obtain her DVD and a bonus audio CD that will teach you how to kick off your own backyard garden, essentially, and be self-sustaining and self-reliant in terms of what your able to produce for your family. You know, there's a right now, produce, the cost of produce is so high. I mean, forget, Marjory, just the whole idea of the fact that, one, it's coming from another country, a large percentage of it. Two, it's got all this chemicals on it that we have absolutely no idea what's in it or any of those things. But, you know, just the cost of it. I mean, you know, they keep telling us there's no such thing as inflation. Well, it's apparent that none of those people in Washington actually ever go to a grocery store because, you know, they eat out every night on our tax dollar. But, you know, the real issue here is that, you know, we're not really having an opportunity to be self-sufficient if we're only going to the grocery store for our products. So, you know, we have a bunch of phone calls that are like trying to get through. Would you mind taking a couple of calls?
Let's do it.
Okay, that sounds great. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Hi. Oh, that's Mike Slack, Marjory.
Hey, Mike. How you going?
Doing great. Hey, I just wanted to clarify some things from earlier. The USA Prepares Expo Marjorie will be at is a week from today in Lebanon, Missouri.
Oh, okay. That's in Lebanon, not Springfield. My apology. That was my mistake.
They moved it. And,
okay.
The next Go Green Festival will be the second weekend of October. We are hoping Marjorie will be able to join us. I know she travels a lot.
Yep.
And there is an organic festival in Branson 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, that's the Fuel for the Body.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yep.
And the event that we're having, Marjorie, is a Freedom Festival, April 20th in Koshkonong. And again, I know you travel a lot, but you're welcome if you can make it.
Sure.
And I just wanted to point out, too, on the soil earlier, we grow great rocks here, but I like to tell people, I asked my wife what she wanted for Valentine's Day a year ago, and she said that she wanted a truckload of horse manure.
That's my kind of woman.
Right. No, skip the flowers and candy. Just get me a load of cow poop.
Hey, with the cow poop, I'll have my own flowers and candy.
There you go. I'll grow my own. Hey, thanks, Mike, for clarifying those points for us.
Thank you. Take care.
I'll be speaking on that event at Fuel for the Body in Branson, by the way. That's a great opportunity for you guys to get out there. And so, go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning. I'm really obliged to Margie, you know, about the compost, because I've been making my compost now for about 5 years, and I put that eggshells, you know, in your vegetable. Can you imagine how much you save on the garbage? Throw that stuff in the garbage, but you could make your own compost and just put little clippings and from the pine needles and a bunch of leaves, because I have a lot of oak trees, and I do have a bunch of rocks in here. It's a very rocky soil, you know. But I turned my garden 20 feet long and about 12 feet wide garden. I have a very good log. The only bad log I have was the doggone carrots. And carrots, they're hard like a doorknob. They're very hard. I have a hard time with them carrots. I can't believe it. But everything else, it turned out good. Yeah, I put a little, because see, I'm surrounded with a 320 acre with my neighbor. He used my driveway. I let him use it. But I'm on a 62 highway, and I'm kind of lonesome, so I kind of feel, you know, kind of at least have some kind of human coming on my hill, you know.
Sure.
And he could take care of his cows, got one horse, got a pony, and one donkey, you know.
So
and he told me I can get any time if I want to, I can get me cow manure, and I'm kind of waiting for the cow manure when it dried up, or the donkey, not the horse manure and donkey, you know, when I feel like it's dried up. And that's what you want to sprinkle the stuff. You know, you don't want to put a wet one, I don't think, you know. And
well, Marjorie, could you comment on that issue of how you best deal with that?
On the herbivores, you can use their manures directly, and you could even use them wet, although it's you know, it's not nearly.
It's a little messier.
Yeah. You do that with the kids, right? Hey, you.
Right. Exactly. That's what kids are good for. Go get dirty.
You can do it with herbivores because the manure is not that hot, we call it, and you can use herbivore feces on your garden directly. It does a lot better, actually, if you compost it first, maybe with some worms or
Got it.
You know, because then it gets more biologically rich, which helps the plants better. Things from turkeys and chickens and the insectivores, that manure is very, very hot, and you definitely want to compost that first before putting it on the garden. But animals are so important, and there's so many wonderful situations out there right now. We're pretty rich in that we don't realize it, but I've got a neighbor down the road who has this big rabbitry, and he's not doing anything with those pellets except for I'm hauling them off. And
he's giving them all to you, and you're happily taking it.
I'm totally taking advantage of that. But there's, so while those situations exist, use them.
Right, absolutely, and that's great. That's a great way to, around here especially, we have Missouri is the number 2 state for cattle production, behind only Texas and Florida. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's number 3, behind Texas and Florida. And so if you want cow manure, there's plenty of it around here. People don't have to look hard for it. There's plenty of farmers who will be more than happy to give you all you can handle. So go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. And I'm calling to give the listeners and Marjory a source to get affordable seeds. It costs $2.50 for the catalog, and the seeds average about $2.50 for a packet of around 100. They've been in business for 100 years, and they're all open pollinated seeds.
Okay, what's the name of the company, quickly?
J.L. Hudson.
J.L. Hudson. Okay. So, Marjorie, are you familiar with that group?
Yeah, I am. I haven't used a lot of their seeds, but he's right. They've been around forever, and they do have good products.
Sure. How do you source GMO-free and hybrid-free seeds? I mean, do you have some recommendations for some companies that our listeners would be benefited by going to?
There's quite a few really good ones out there. The Seed Savers Exchange, the Southern Seed Exposure, Bountiful Gardens, which is the home of John Jevons and Ecology Action, the Sustainable Seed Company, and I've actually visited their farms personally several times. And I believe right there in Missouri, what is the name of the one that's right there in central Missouri, a little bit north of Ava?
I'm drawing a blank myself.
I know, there's something Creek?
Baker Creek. Baker Creek Seed Company.
Yeah. There are good ones and there are reputable ones. The ones to absolutely avoid is the ones on the internet with some slick marketing trying to sell you something that's going to, be your acre survival garden kind of thing, and that they don't have phone numbers and they don't have, farms behind what they're doing, and they're really slick marketing people.
Sure.
Avoid those like the plague. In fact, some of them I have found they are actually just repackaging Monsanto GMO seeds and selling them as heirlooms. So
really,
do be careful, but go with some of these older established ones. And there still is seed available. That's the good news.
We have a local seed company here called White Harvest Seed Company.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They do heirloom, and they do a survival seed kit, which they kind of sell as you can stock it away kind of thing, and then buy two, one to put away and one to use. That group is pretty well known, and of course their stuff is all heirloom, and they are pretty reliable or responsible, and I'm pretty confident that when you buy from them, you're not getting something that's repackaged from someone else. I think the problem with the Monsanto thing is that they have bought a lot of these seed companies, and they use the term heirloom, but it's not really heirloom seed. It's more like a brand than it is a true heirloom seed.
A definition, yeah.
Right, a definition. Thank you.
Yeah, they bought up. Oh my gosh, I can't remember, but they have been buying up all these small seed companies, and it's. And of course the thing to do, and there is a whole seed saving book in the bonus CD that comes with the video set.
Great.
Because that's so important, and that saving your own seeds, and then ultimately developing your own varieties that grow really well just in your local area.
Sure. Yeah. The other area I think that a lot of people have is the idea of how to take care of the pest problem, and I know that you've done some work on that. With the real problem we have with the pests is how do you take care of that without polluting your own food supply?
Yeah, insects. So we've got a couple of good bullet points on insects, and the first one is to make sure your soil is healthy and good. I did a radio show with Shirley De La Fry. She has this nationwide GCN gardening show, and I talked to her beforehand about her story, and she and her husband have a pretty famous insectivary, a business where they grow beneficial insects and sell them.
Oh, I got you. So you're fighting nature with nature.
Right, and very successful business. It's still going on, but when they were young, they started this. They were entomologists, and they felt that was the solution for organic gardening. Mm-hmm. And then a few years into getting the whole company established, they realized insect problems come from the soil.
Got it.
The insects are the predators of the plant world, and if your plants aren't healthy, then they're going to have a tendency to much higher get attacked by insects. So having good, healthy soil with the mineral balance and the nutrition that the plants need, the plants will be strong.
Sure.
And not have it. The other is to rotate. Don't plant those tomatoes in the same spot every year, because if there are insects that develop, they often have a relationship with the soil.
Got it.
You move the plant, then you break that cycle.
That's a great, and it's such a simple thing, but who'd have thunk, right?
Yeah, just move it. Of course, and that means you need to take a few records. I always forget. Now, where did I what?
Right.
But that's another stop. The third thing, and then this is kind of the thing which I kind of hate, but I'm getting known for.
We've got a break coming up. Can we touch that third one when we come back?
The third one, and it's a sexy one.
Okay, well then let's hold off for that for the break. It'll only take us a couple seconds to get through it. It's a quarter-hour break. When we come back, we'll hit on that, and then we'll make sure that we get an opportunity to let folks know where they can get your documentation. Folks, you're listening to America's Voice Now. I'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition, including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
The Donut Palace in West Plains, where the customer is still king. If you're a school group, church group, sports team, or any group function, book it with the Donut Palace. Order 24 hours in advance and at least 3 dozen to receive 10% off your bill, and you won't have the burden of paying tax either. Open 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sundays when they close at 1. Call today at 417-256-0606 to have delicious hot and fresh donuts at your next meeting. Located at 914 Broadway in West Plains, the Donut Palace.
Finding quality childcare is important. Do you know the questions to ask?
Are children supervised at all times?
Does the staff know first aid and CPR?
Be childcare aware. Just call Child Care Aware of Missouri at 1-866-892-3228 or log on to mo.childcareaware.org.
How many children are being cared for?
Does this child care program have an emergency plan?
Finding the right child care could be one of the biggest decisions any parent will ever make. Let us help. Valuable information for parents as well as child care providers is available online and on the phone, and it's all free.
Have all the child care providers gone through a background check?
Have they had proper child care training?
The questions you need answered. The answers you've been looking for. Call Child Care Aware of Missouri at 1-866-892-3228 or log on to mo.childcareaware.org. Be child care aware.
Okay, we are returning, and again, we have Marjory Wildcraft, who's joined us this morning. And by the way, I'm really grateful that you've taken the time out of your morning, especially so early, to participate with our show this morning. Thank you.
Well, I loved your website and what you stand for and what you're doing. I said, well, I have to do this. So.
I know. People say to me, well, wait a minute, I thought you're politics. And it's like, no, politics is not only just a question of dealing with the nature of our political world, but it's also in preparation and planning, since we really know what the end result of this is, or at least their goal is for us, right? So how do we fight back, right? This is part of the fight back part. So I had one caller who asked me about diatomaceous earth, and I don't even know what that is, but he asked if I would just throw that one at you, and then I want to hear what your idea was on that third issue.
Okay, diatomaceous earth is like the dead bodies or the skeletal remains of this small creature, and the idea is on a microscopic scale or on a very small scale. To us, it's just mostly like a sandy substance, but to other insects, it's like crawling across glass. I mean, they just don't mess with it. So it's often used in organic systems that you sprinkle it on your plants, and then your insects are not going to be on there because it's basically like covering your plants with broken glass. So it's very effective until it rains, and it's a good solution for a lot of things. Again, the root cause is probably going to be something in your soil, and trying to break those insect cycles. But it's definitely a good piece to use, and it's organic. It's not really, people can eat it even, and I don't think it's particularly harmful to humans.
Right. It's not like eating glass.
Right. Not for us. Yeah.
Okay. You had a third point that you were going to make before that we were talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Are you sitting down?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I am, and it was sexy, so I want to hear it.
Okay. So yeah. So you can eat insects. Most of the insects that are
all right,
out
the
there.
sex just went out of that whole idea right there. As soon as you said that, it was like, all right, that's it.
I know it wasn't really sexy, but it was definitely
but it was a sure way to keep them on the line with us, wasn't it? They're all still listening here.
Well, you know, insects are a fabulous source of protein and fat, and especially the omega-3 fatty acids, which most people in the health industry realize that omega-3s are the ones that we are desperately in need of. And also, you know, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, you got the famine, you got the drought, you got the disease, and
plagues of insects.
You get the insects, you get the locusts, and the way to get through that, because the locusts come through and they eat up everything. They eat up all your crops, they eat up all, you know, everything is devastating when the locusts come through. The way to get through that period is to dry the insects and to salt the insects and to eat the insects and to live off of them for that period of time until you can get your stuff reestablished again. So
sure. Well, and I suppose that's not a bad, a bad alternative. I mean, I would have to be pretty hungry to want to sit down and eat a whole plate of grasshoppers, chocolate covered or otherwise.
It's not my favorite food source. No, it's not. But, like anything, if you get familiar with something in small increments ahead of time, you're certainly not going to eat them under stress.
Right.
So, if you get, it's just like every bit of lifestyle. You start learning to chop wood and make a fire now, then it's no big deal when that's the only way you're going to stay warm.
Bingo. And, what I love about what you're doing is you're really kind of, I educate people about what's going on in our world around them politically and try to help, with the idea of where they can get information like yours. But you're actually producing something in a way that I think is actually in some cases more valuable. You're giving them a skill that will benefit them for life. I try to help them get educated, but you're giving them a skill that they can actually use not only for life, but to create and preserve life. And that to me is invaluable. I wish I had what you have. I don't. I'm a black thumb. I'm like you were before you started. And, unfortunately, I don't know that I have the time to devote to putting into it all that you have. But I definitely want to get a copy of your DVD because I'm one in desperate need.
There you go. Well, start a compost pile. That doesn't take a lot of work. Just start with that.
No, and I actually have already done that. I'm not as successful at it as I would like to be in terms of my persistence at it. And I think I'm like a lot of folks, I mean, I do this radio show and then I run two businesses and, at the end of the day I walk home and I'm darn near catatonic, It's like, I got to go out there and throw this on the pile. No, it's not happening.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But you're absolutely right. And the great part of it is by, trimming that grocery bill, you're also saving money for other things that really, our costs of living has just gotten so astronomical of late. In our food and then in everything else. Our dollar is falling, and we are on the edge of a national, frankly, an international financial collapse, I believe.
But when the U.S. goes, the whole globe is going to go.
Exactly. And frankly, if the euro goes, it's going to drag the U.S. with it.
Right. There's so many reasons why this whole thing is going to fall apart.
Sure.
So,
not to mention Brazil, China, India, and South Africa and the BRICS countries just announced that they're no longer using the dollar as their reserve currency.
Yes.
So
all these warning signs are showing up everywhere to anybody who can see it. And the prudent thing is to just prepare to change your lifestyle. And at some point, it's going to make more sense for you to grow your own food than it is to have a job and buy it.
Right. Not to mention that, you can actually have your job and put that money towards something else.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can still have your job and you can still earn your living, but instead of giving it away to a grocer, you're actually producing what you need directly in your own backyard. And, it's better for you. There's just so many reasons why it makes sense. And
for me, what I've found is it's so much more fulfilling. I mean, I love it. I say I grow a minimum of half of what I eat, and that's part of my whole thing is I'm continually growing because that's, it's what my business is. So, But that is the most fulfilling part of my day. It's being out there with the plants and the animals and being outside in the sunshine. And, that is the best part of my job.
Absolutely.
Job. So,
What region of the country are you in?
We're in Central Texas. We're a little bit southeast of Austin.
Okay, so you're in a pretty southern climb. These principles that you've got on Grow Your Own Groceries work pretty much regardless of what your climate area is, correct?
That's right. Your species might be slightly different, but here in Central Texas, and Peter Bain of the Permaculture Activist, it's like the premier activist magazine in the United States. He goes, Marjorie, you're actually living in probably one of the best places to do this in, because Central Texas has a severe change of climate. I mean, we can be like the desert Southwest for a few years, and then we can be deluged with rain for a few years, and then we can, we have all these radical changes. And he said, that's actually what's coming to everybody. So you're almost on the forefront of climate change. So the systems that you've developed and the things that you've adapted for this resiliency to be able to handle anything that nature throws at you is really the way. And of course, we have horrible soil here. And he says you're living the example of what everybody needs to know. So
I'm very impressed with your work, and I'm so grateful that you took the time to join us this morning, because I know we're in the middle of podunk nowhere, and it's nice for you to come on with us. The Dr. Prepper program, I know you've been on there. They've actually asked us to produce our show with them as well, so we'll be starting up with them probably sometime in April, and I'll make sure that I put this on there.
Great, yeah.
But
nice guy.
So I am very grateful that you've joined us. Folks, you can get to growyourowngroceries.com. That's growyourowngroceries.com. And also marjorywildcraft.com. And that's MAJORY, Wildcraft, WILDCRAFT.com. I would encourage you to get to the Grow Your Own Groceries and get a copy of Marjorie's information and the DVDs. You can also sign up for the free ebook there, and just put your first name in and an email, and you'll get that in the mail and in your email box. And then you too can start to take a step into that self-reliance movement. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
It's been a pleasure, Mike.
I'm grateful. Thanks. Okay, yeah, I do a show during the week, and we actually have almost a second audience, and so maybe I can touch base with you one day, and we'll get you on during the week. That would be wonderful. I'm sure our audience would love it.
Thanks again.
Thanks so much. Folks, that was Marjory Wildcraft. She is truly kind of a cult icon in the self-reliance and self-sustainability movement, and I'm very grateful that we were able to have her on with us this morning. So, folks, last chance. If you're planning on attending our concealed carry class, you're going to have to meet on Washington Avenue. The phone number for you to call is, if you're going to attend that particular class, is area code 417, of course, 270-1053, and that class will be held on Washington Avenue in West Plains. It's $50 if you bring your own pistol and your own ammo, $60 if you need to use his, and you can call that phone number and get all the details on it. It's an all-day class. You are not going to get a concealed carry class for less money than that. Also, if you're planning on attending our reloading class, that starts at 9 o'clock, which means as of right now you're about to be late. And that is held over at 1378 in Bill Verdon Boulevard, which is an extension of Broadway running through West Plains. And you can take that class for $100, and you'll learn how to reload metallic cartridges. You're listening to America's Voice Now. Thank you for joining with us this morning. We appreciate your listenership and your support for our program. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. And you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. We also put up every show that we do up onto YouTube, and you can catch this show as well as every other show that we do during the weekend on the weekends. And you can catch that on YouTube and watch the video live and hear the audio. You can find that at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. So if you can just remember the term America's Voice Now, you can get to our Facebook and our YouTube pages, and you can just simply enter americasvoicenow.org into your website or your browser, and boom, you'll be on our website. We do stream live this show every day, and you're certainly welcome to join us live on our website to catch the streaming version. If you'd like to send me an email, I'd love to hear from you. You can send it to me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. That's mike@americasvoicenow.org. Okay, folks, I will look forward to seeing you all Monday morning, or at least hearing from you all Monday morning. And I appreciate very much your joining with us. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow, or Monday.